them, huh?
If you really want some film at 11, why don't you follow me down to the brewery? I'll tie a bowling ball to my ankle, dive in the vat of beer. I'll leave this world the same way I entered my marriage, dead drunk.
Hello.
Want a beer?
Hook it up.
Yeah. Hook me up.
Y'all heard, take it from the top. 1, 2.
Beer?
This is how we do it.
My mic sound nice, check 1. My mic sound nice, check 2. My mic sound nice, check 3. Are you ready?
That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
You like parties? Yeah. We can invite all our friends and have soda and pie. Yeah! I hope no bad people show up.
My mic sounds nice, check 1. My mic sounds nice, check 2. My mic sounds nice, check 3. My mic sounds nice, check 4. My mic sounds nice, check 5. My mic sounds nice, check 6. Are you ready?
You want some of this milk?
Rather have a beer.
What do you guys give me if I kill that bird? However, that's a bald eagle. Get away, Baldy! Yeah!
Hey! What up? What up? And 7 times what up? This is The Word with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GovsRadio.com, live here on GovsRadio.com. Also broadcasting on the Govs Radio Facebook page and, of course, the Govs Radio YouTube page. Don't forget that all of our shows are in podcast form thereafter. Go on to all of your podcast platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, of course, the Hopped Up Network, Laughable app, and our video will be on demand on YouTube channel from the Wort podcast with Mike, Pete, and Steve. Thanks a lot for everyone for tuning in tonight. Really appreciate you guys coming on through on this beautiful Monday evening on your radio dial. It's hot.
It's hot out there.
Hot as shit. I came down here sweating, saying hello to everybody to catch up on the Zoom, and my shirt is still wet. Just running up and down the block after a dog. It's not the best thing to do in the world, but it works. Let's get into some quick sponsorship, and then we'll kick off the show with our boys from Two Villains. Let's talk a little bit about Brewbag. Man, I had a great weekend with my Brewbag.
Oh, yeah.
Steven did as well. We are sponsored by Brewbag. Go to brewbag.com or go onto our Instagram. Go into the highlights and find a link to our Brewbag page where you can get 10% off by using our link. And go on Brewbag and play beer pong cornhole. It is some shit. It's hardcore.
I'm a devastator. I crushed my whole family. They had no shot.
I was playing with my younger 21-year-old nephew, and as the picture told oh so well, we won one of them and we lost another one. My niece's boyfriend came, and he was basketball shooting. He was shooting overhand. I'm going, this is not even really Brewbag. And he was sinking everything. And it's like following beer pong rules. So if you sink the same hole without capping it, game over. Wow. They did it twice to the other members of my family. They kept hitting the same hole over and over and over again. Like, you sons of bitches. That's a strategy. You may not win with it, but it's a strategy, and they were winning. So go to brewbag.com and order your Brewbag system today. Also sponsored by Rosie's Draft Solutions. Hell yeah. Steven, tell us a little about Rosie's Draft Solutions. Now you're on the spot, buddy.
Oh, man, you put me on the spot.
I do. You're the one that's going to be reading their shit from now on.
Yeah, well, you didn't let me do it last week, so I figured you would wait.
Yeah, you're on.
Well, Rosie's Draft Solutions out of Patchogue, a father and son team that own it. They do some of the greatest stuff. Total draft cleaning for breweries, for home. If you have a kegerator, they can clean it. They can set it up. If you don't have a kegerator, they can get you a kegerator and set it up. They do full systems. If you're looking to open a restaurant, bar, or a brewery, they can put a whole system in for you from nuts to bolts and clean it every 2 weeks like it should be cleaned. I had the right when they first opened up, I was using them over at Barrage Brewing. The guys did such a great job. Again, Rosie's Draft Solutions, rosie'sdraftsolutions.com.
And use our promo code when you're going to get your service, your equipment. Type in the promo code Wort, or when you call Nick, tell him the Wort sent you, and he'll gratefully give you 10% off your service, hardware, equipment, or any other need that you might have. So go to, rosie'sdraftsolutions.com. We're also sponsored by VintageBeerT-shirtClub.com. God damn, it's a lot of words in a website address. But yes, VintageBeerT-shirtClub.com. And he's wearing his Buffalo Beer shirt. There it is. Pretty sweet. It's a vintage beer shirt company. Of course, when you go on and you place your first order, use the promo code Wort, receives a percentage off. We are using the shirts that they sent us to give back to the brewers. And we actually just gave you guys pretty much our last shirts for our show. And so from now on, we're going to be using vintage beer shirts. Yeah, I saw you texted me the other day, or emailed, like, I'm wearing it right now. I'm like, all right.
We always appreciate free shirts.
Of course.
That's my entire outfit. Most of my shirts are free.
We were talking to Paul from Ghost Brewing Company a few weeks ago, and I gave him the same thing, the Buffalo shirt, and he was on a double brew day on a really hot and humid day, and he goes, that thing saved my life, man. I burned through that shirt, double shirted it up, and was clean for the way out.
Yeah,
so go to Vintage Beer Club.
Dude,
yeah.
I used to leave clothes in the walk-in cooler so they'd be nice and cool.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
If you have a walk-in, that's where you're gonna leave them.
After brew day, we would, get changed, get our boots on and everything, put our clothes in there. After the day was over, it is the most wonderful feeling putting on cold shirts and socks and
especially when it's been like 125 degrees in the brew house all day.
You're fermenting faster than the beer is. It's disgusting. So go to VintageBeerShirtClub.com and get your unfermented shirts today. Use the promo code Wort and you will receive some money off. Also, a couple of people we want to mention out there. Thanks a lot to Will over Brewers Hardware for supplying the brewers with parting gifts and also some swag that we got, which isn't a lot, but we'll kind of wait to the end to give that out. And then, Will was supposed to come on the show tonight, but had a previous engagement, so he's going to come on another show so he can properly introduce Brewers Hardware for all your, brewing hardware needs, all the way from home brew systems up to large capacity needs. Go to brewershardware.com. And, of course, if it's the promo code, type in Wort. And if you're talking to him on the phone, tell him the Wort sent you. He'll appreciate it because he listens and he's a good fan. And he's a good dude. Yep. Also want to say thank you to Tap Handles. Tap Handles supplying us with these tap handle adapters. Not these, but the ones that we've pretty much already given out to all our friends and folks with the brewery. And then, of course, Jeff Hartwell for Hartwell Woodshop for supplying us with these. Rich mahogany needs, go to Hartwell Woodshop in Patchogue, Long Island. And I think one more is Tavor. Go to Tavor.com for beer right to your door. It's Tavor.com. And go ahead and throw the promo code. You know what it is by now. If you don't know what it is by now, you're not listening to the show. Go to Tavor.com, type in promo code Wort, and receive a percentage off your order. And now, since we went through all that shit, we can actually start doing real shit. Enough of the old shit. Do some real shit, and which includes drinking with our buddies John and Sean from Two Villains Brewing up in Nyack, New York. I've had the pleasure of being there twice now. Steve came with me a couple days ago, right? It was Saturday. And stopped by again. Things have progressed, so I really want to start talking about that. And, of course, you have a lot of new releases and new stuff coming out since I was there the first time. So even in like a short month, I think it was only 3 or 4 weeks in between visits, a whole bunch of shit has changed. Yeah. Before we go into all that change, give us a bit of history about it. I know Steve has his questions. We were talking in the car on the way up and the way down and stuff he wants to ask. And Pete, of course, always has his knowledgeable, intellectual questions about what, Pete?
That's overstating it.
All right. So there. Give us a little history about the brewery. Tell us a little bit about it and then see what's going on lead us up to today from where it started.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Sean and I have been friends for about 13, 14 years, something like that, 15 years. I've lost count.
Too long for men to be friends, I think.
We became friends working in the restaurant industry. We were serving together, bartending together. We were each other's bosses at certain places, but we always worked well together, and we always enjoyed kind of like the hustle and bustle of that scene, working in, you know, anywhere from kitchen to front of house. And throughout the years, you know, we always shared a bond over craft beer as well. Sean was actually one of the first people to introduce me to it. He made me one day sit down and face an entire bomber of American Bastard.
Oh,
Which was
I
love the label.
Yeah. And I remember I was so blown away by it, and also a little grossed out, having never really drank anything that bitter and aggressive before. But yeah, from there we always you know, had this,
everything.
Yeah.
Any beer that came across our paths at that point, because this is like 2006, maybe 5, 4, something like that. And then there wasn't a lot of options in craft beer, in the craft beer scene, especially in New Jersey. But we were always like pushing every restaurant we had, like, this is gonna be the future, guys. Like, buy more craft beer, trust us.
Yeah, we were very into it early on, and you know, cut our teeth on like those West Coast IPAs and double IPAs, the green flashes, and it was awesome. It was like a thrill of the chase, because it was great seeing stuff from, like, you know, other parts of the country you've never seen before, especially Stone. You know, every time I saw something from Stone, I immediately had to buy it and try it. Didn't matter what it was. And
the labels.
And that kind of just pushed us towards being curious about how it was actually done, how it was made. And there was one day at a job, I worked at a car dealership and absolutely hated it. And one day,
does anyone enjoy it? I always feel like everyone's miserable and they just want to shout at people.
Yeah, I feel like some people must. I mean, you know, it's, if you're a salesperson, I guess you can like fit into any sort of industry that has sales and be good at it and enjoy it.
Those ketchup popsicle salesmen you always hear so much about.
Yeah, exactly. And
those guys.
One day, just being bored and just reading stuff online about homebrewing, I decided to buy a homebrewing kit. And Sean and I were roommates at that time, and I told him, hey, you know, I bought a homebrewing kit. Let's make some beer. And it kind of started off like that. We made our first batch. It sucked.
Yeah,
as it should.
Yeah. It was a brown ale. I can't remember the kit, but we thought it'd be neat to throw a bunch of maple syrup in it, and
not knowing anything about
not knowing anything about fermentation or you know, add sugars, and it kind of woke us up to the trials and tribulations of brewing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Waking up the next morning with a carboy pretty much mostly exploded in a closet.
In the closet, of course.
Yeah. And we tried to save it. We still drank it. We bottled it. We did the whole thing.
Throwing it through strainers, making sure there's no plastic pieces sitting in it.
No sediment. Filtering it through a sock into bottles. It was just terrible. But
just wringing them out
sanitary.
One by one.
Nothing strange there at all.
Wringing it out. No, from there it just turned into an obsession. We tried homebrewing like once or twice every single week.
Before you know it, we just had all summer, like, all right, now we have like 4 for like glass carboys.
All of our money kind of soon started going towards equipment. We did it for a few months, and we were really enjoying it, and we thought to ourselves, like, you know, hey, like, what do other people think about it other than our friends? Like, what would somebody that's not maybe a little bit biased towards us, what would they say about our beer?
Friends love your beer, even if it's bad, because it's free.
It's free, yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's an unconditional love because it's free and it's given to them.
Yep.
And our friends enjoyed it, and you know, we believed them, but we wanted to kind of expand, you know, our knowledge of it by getting some like professional criticisms of what we were doing.
And meeting other homebrewers too.
Was there a homebrew club in New Jersey at the time?
There was, but we didn't really join any. But there was a restaurant at the time that was doing like 4 times a year or so, they were doing homebrew competitions. It'd be like, here's a style of beer.
That's cool.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, and that's where we kind of started entering some early batches. I believe maybe our 6th or 7th batch was entered for the first time ever.
Yeah.
You know, it was still partial extract, so we didn't really know.
Bottle conditioned, totally undercarbonated.
People would accept it, but our whole thing too was we were very inspired by Tired Hands at that point.
Okay.
You know, we used to go down to the brew pub all the time, and we loved the innovation, the kind of weird stuff that they were able to do, and we really appreciated you know, what they did down there, and we wanted to kind of emulate that as homebrewers and just be a little bit different and weird and stand out.
Yeah.
And yeah, our first beer was a brown ale. It was a brown ale competition. It was brown with cinnamon, coffee, vanilla, and you know, we made extracts and we went the whole full 9 yards with it. And you know, we were happy with it. We entered it. We were nervous, but it was we were pretty confident that, you know, get some good feedback. And then we ended up winning an award, which was great.
Nice.
Yeah.
It was a huge confidence booster in that regard. And
And
yeah, then we just kept with it.
What year was that?
This is like
5 years ago.
years ago.
Yeah, so about 2014, 2015.
All right, so you're in the swing of things at this point. It wasn't really early on.
Yeah. I mean, we were a few months in on the homebrew side. I mean, we've been drinking craft beer for a while.
Yeah,
this is really
exactly.
first.
We knew enough about beer at that point just from like drinking so much of it and really like looking at like what
That sounds bad. It's good.
Yeah.
like seeing, like paying attention, like knowing, like, oh, like I know I like Galaxy hops when Galaxy hops was like a new thing, like that people were really like using at the time, or like figuring out why you liked certain beers over other beers, like just in general, like, you know, what is like personally, like I'm not a big fan of Belgian beers. I drank a bunch of them. I'll drink sour beer from Belgium. I'll drink saisons from Belgium.
Yeah.
Like doubles, triples, quads. They're not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that because I drank so many of them, and I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't.
Yeah.
It's not. You know.
Pete's the Belgian
That's
guy.
my
of
fucking
the group.
jam. Doubles, triples, some quads, saisons.
Saisons all day.
Yeah. For me, I mean, it was more the doubles and the triples, but then I latch onto ones that kind of really stand out. And
if it's a good beer, eventually you'll kind of shoot away some of your personal bias.
What are your favorite Belgian saisons? I'm probably lacking in some good ones. I've had a few, but
I mean, Saison DuPont to me still is like forever and always.
Never had it, which I feel like is a failure on my part.
That is truly like the epitome. If you want to make a beer, if you want to make a saison, you try to make it like Saison DuPont.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I don't know if it's Fantôme. Are they?
Fantôme,
Are they Belgian? Are they Dutch? I don't know. They're one of those. But they make pretty good. They make good saisons.
European saison.
Yeah.
Cover the whole continent.
But yeah, I mean, like getting back to the homebrew thing, like we just basically tried out a bunch of stuff, and early on knew right away like we were gonna like be good at making certain things that we liked to drink. So like, you know, we were big on Other Half like at the time, and like, you know, we were started getting Lawson's beer at the time, and Alchemist beer, and Fiddlehead, and the hazy IPA thing was just like starting up, like to gain a lot of like movement, I guess. So we're like, all right, let's just try to be like make really good homebrew like that, and then like what do we do to do that?
Yeah, we always use these places as inspiration. You know, we would try to find different recipes that were similar to the ones that these big guys were using, and these popular beers, these sought after beers, and we were always trying to kind of chase that with our home brews. And then we also were influenced by, you know, again, like other breweries, like Tired Hands, that did different things. And they actually really, I would say a combination of them and drinking Saison DuPont, and even Hennepin by Alma Gang. All those Saisons.
My favorite.
Yeah, and those funky Saisons that like Hill Farmstead and Tired Hands were doing, they were
Omar's so
really,
big and
yeah.
huge.
They opened our eyes up to it kind of expanding out, and then even doing sours as home brewers and
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, we did open fermentation beers as home brewers just because we're like, why not? Like, we know how to do it. Like, we read the science behind it.
So going back to home brewing thing. We entered a bunch of competitions. We won a few awards. We entered some state fair competitions.
New Jersey State Fair.
Yeah, we entered a couple different saisons because that was just something that we were really trying to focus on at the time, and won a bunch of awards for that, and it was great. And we knew we were onto something. We always wanted to open our own like restaurant or bar, just being in the industry together for a long time, working together.
We knew that we worked well together.
Yes, and so it was kind of the natural evolution of things. We were like, okay, well, what if we opened a brewery? What if we did this, as our career, as our main job, and that thought became a pursuit, and we tried to apply to different breweries, try to get in on the ground level anywhere. And then one day we were actually helping judge a homebrew competition, and Joe and Pete from Brick City.
Yep. Shout out to the homies.
Yes. They were attending the competition as well, and we had a really nice time talking to them about the industry, in its current state, and different beers and what we liked, didn't like. We opened a couple of our homebrews for them, and they seemed to really enjoy them. And it wasn't more than 2 days later, they got back to us and said, we have a couple openings for an internship. If you guys are interested.
This was like 6 months into them being open. So they're like, you could drink free beer and work in a brewery.
Done.
So like,
sold.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't too much of convincing on their ends to get us in there. But,
What the hell else am I doing? Of course I want.
Yeah. and it was great. They taught us the hard way, which was just throwing us into it. Our first day on the job, we were brewing a rye IPA, 68 rye. It was never brewed before. Yeah. They never done it. It was the first time writing the recipe.
So Stuck Sparge.
Oh yeah. That was a nice 8-hour lauder. It was
the original Brick City. The original Brick City was a 5-barrel, four vessel system of 2 mash tuns next to 2 boil kettles. Just ran with pumps.
Yeah, the cycle brew system is insane.
You had to mash out by jumping on top of it.
Yeah, those were the worst.
So it got stuck, and it was like a 7-hour brew day.
Yeah, 7 hours.
Like
easily.
that was like
just the
that
sparge.
sparge was about
And no, that sucked. But I never felt more accomplished after that brew day.
Yeah.
Than just kind of being thrown into one like that. And the next day we came back, we cleaned some kegs, and it was just kind of a normal day. But we knew we were totally into it at that point. And
we just kept showing up.
We just kept showing up every week. We went in once or twice a week for about a couple months, and then I said, screw it. I quit the job that I was working at the time, and I just committed, full time to them. I worked there full time for about, I want to say, 1.5 years before Sean came on full time. But overall, we were there. We brewed with them for 4 years.
Wow. That's a long stint.
Yeah,
it was. And the best part was we got to kind of grow with grow with the company.
Steve's banner keeps falling down, and he keeps turning around. He's like, what the fuck? What do you got?
Get some flex tape.
Yeah, you got Scotch tape on it. What do you got?
Get some flex tape, Steve.
Yeah, you need flex tape. Yeah.
But I was saying we started out with 5-barrel systems, 5-barrel fermenters there, and then by the time we left, it was like a 10-barrel brew house, fully automated, 3 30-barrel like tanks, and like we were like, all right, time to go
do that.
Leave this place and go back to being small again.
Don't you miss the automation?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was kind of bittersweet because like I really loved the manual cyclebrew system, and like we brewed on it for 2.5 years. Some of my favorite beers, even still to this day, were brewed on that system. And we had some pretty memorable like brew sessions as well, where it was kind of like all hands on deck. We every year we released a bourbon barrel aged stout called Silk City, and we knew that it would be very, very difficult to get it to 10% without doing double mashes.
Oh yeah.
But ended up being 4 mashes to fill a tank, and we brewed about 48 hours straight.
Yeah, it was in the middle of August.
Middle of August. Yeah, we all took turns. Sean and I worked a couple overnight shifts and stuff, but it was pretty hot and pretty weary, but it was awesome. And I mean, that just kind of proved to us that we really did enjoy doing what we were doing.
And when you brew on a system like that, when that beer finally comes out, drink it, you're like, yeah, man, you feel accomplished because
definitely, yeah.
You know the hard work that went into it.
Yeah, and then I mean, it was cool even seeing again, like Sean was saying, when we left, we were on such a big automated system doing 10, 20, 30 barrel batches. That was also pretty amazing in its own right. Just kind of producing that much wort at once, learning things that we didn't know. Yeah.
I don't have my soundboard.
I was waiting for that fucking.
I know I don't have the soundboard, so I can't play it. Usually I have the soundboard every time someone says word.
I like the mouth noises. It's like the guy from Police Academy.
Yes. I know his name too. Crap, I always say
I know his
that
name
guy.
too.
Michael something, right? I believe.
Michael something.
Oh,
No,
now obviously I have to Google.
Yeah, Pete will come up with it. He's our fact checker.
Google boy.
I feel like it starts with a B, but it's not. I want to say Murtaugh, but it's not Murtaugh.
No.
It's not Murtaugh.
Or Riggs.
That's also lethal weapon.
Yeah, you're just not having a good day. It's too humid out. That's what it is.
That's it.
It's Michael Winslow, isn't it?
Winslow.
I think you might be right.
But I thought that was the guy from Family Matters.
Nah, but I think that might actually. Yeah, it's
Michael Winslow.
Oh, good.
It is Michael Winslow.
Not to be confused with Carl Winslow.
Carl Winslow. There you go.
Nice.
He didn't have a nickname.
Was that in Chicago? Was Family Matters set in Chicago?
I believe it was.
Yes.
One of Chicago's finest.
Yeah, he is.
He was. And then
also in Die Hard 2, he's also Chicago's finest.
Yes, exactly.
That's Die Hard 1.
Same character. Yeah. Same character. we have a lot of weird movie and TV theories.
How crazy would it be if they really acknowledge the crossover? And he comes home and he's telling he's telling Urkel about how Riggs.
Urkel.
Oh, fucking
he's
Urkel.
He's like one time McClane. He's
exactly.
killed the guy in an airport. John McClane took out an entire building.
Crazy. You guys have a cool name because of what it actually means. It actually doesn't mean you're gonna go off and pillage Nyack. It actually has some meaning behind that. So when you guys actually got
during quarantine, I think we did.
Yeah. Got close. Yeah, it got pretty rough and tumble out there. But no, the name is a couple different meanings. We both grew up huge comic book nerds. Always kind of rooting for the bad guys, and it was always badass to like the villains in those comic books growing up. And also we are big fans of hip hop, and there is a MC out there named MF Doom. He has
I know MF Doom. Yep.
Yes, he has an album with Madlib called Bad Villain, and in their intro track they speak of 2 villains, and that kind of just resonated with us. We thought it was like a nice, cool, obscure reference. And it kind of stuck. I mean, we used it as homebrewers to kind of just drum up some fanfare, I guess, before, because we always knew we were going to have this brew. We were that set out to get it done. So, we were like, well, why don't we just start calling ourselves this? And when we'd
have elaborate setups when we homebrew, we're matching clothes.
Yeah, sure, the whole nine. But yeah, no, I mean, we always stuck with the name, and during our last year at Bricks, we met up with our now business partners. And at the time, we were kind of looking for an area that we could potentially break ground and put a brewery. Originally, we were looking up in Kingston, just because we just really love the area up there. And we could see that the town was kind of on an upswing. And
they have a beer world.
Yeah.
And they had Keegan in there and stuff already. So
and a beautiful town right on the water. And
funny how that worked.
Yeah, exactly. we were looking up there for a while, and our now business partners were like, well, we have a bar down in Nyack that we're looking to and kind of rebrand, do something new with it. And at that point in time, Sean and I had a business plan going that we've kind of gradually been building on. And everything kind of clicked. Everything kind of lined up the way it should. The town had just zoned the area to house a brewery. It never had one before.
That doesn't hurt.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, they welcomed us with open arms. And
they were the first initial meeting with the town couldn't have gone better. They're like, they're basically like, well, you tell us what you should be doing. I was like, oh, okay.
You're the experts.
We came in with like, we're like, all right, here we have the answers, and they're like, what do we do?
No, we were very well prepared. I mean, also, thanks again to Joe and Pete from Bricks as well. They really took us under their wing with that. They knew from the get-go that we wanted to have this and wanted to start this.
Yeah,
they supported us.
We told them, when it really started rolling, we were like, dudes, we're gonna leave like in a year probably.
Yeah.
And that'd be like, hey, it's 6 months. And we're like, hey, we're gonna leave in like 6 months. And they let us work, until the very last day.
I mean, for probably like 3-4 months, we were crossing over, finishing up a brew day or packaging day, going up to Nyack, watching, looking over build out, going over plans, going to town meetings. But it was a pretty streamlined process. It was awesome. Very few setbacks. We had the tanks in pretty quickly, and we made do with this awesome space, this awesome old building in Nyack that was formerly Bourbon Street.
Had a huge history.
Now let me ask you, is it coincidence, or did you guys plan to have a comic book place right next door to you?
Total coincidence.
Wow.
Yeah.
The first time we saw the space, we were like, oh, okay. That makes sense.
When we showed up on Saturday, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. You guys are into comic books, and right next door just happens to be a comic book place.
And they're great. They're great neighbors too.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a constant question. They're like, "Oh, do you guys do something with them?" And we're like, "No, we're completely separate businesses." But no, they're awesome. They actually, so in our brewery, we have bathrooms with walls lined with comic books that we meticulously added on ourselves.
Yeah.
But those guys, like, they were super generous, supplied us with bins and bins of comics, and they were always. And our neighbors on the other side, another restaurant, they were super helpful and kind of, welcoming us and getting us situated. And
You ever think of doing a collab with the comic book store?
I mean, we definitely are. Probably at some point. Yeah, we were. We actually had a whole bunch of events,
a bunch of plans,
and stuff to do different like themed nights and have them involved and stuff before.
That'd be cool.
Fucking
Comic
COVID.
night, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys have been there, I guess. So, when you see that space, it's right on the main street.
Yeah.
So there's big windows in the front. And then, I don't know. You guys haven't been inside yet, though, right?
No, Steve and I walked in, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So, yeah, that was a full renovation. That we rebuilt that bar from the ground up, basically.
Wow, yeah, it was solid. We were talking even about the tables that, what was his name, Gabe? Was it Gabe who's the bartender?
Dean?
Dean, sorry. I knew it was, yeah.
Actually,
Dean.
Gabe is the bartender and our good friend at Bricks.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, Gabe was there?
I'm so terrible with names, and I had to repeat your names to myself 15 times before I made sure I got it right tonight. I'm
it's just
so
like
bad.
the P. Diddy clothing line, man.
Listen, if it didn't say your names in the corner of these boxes here, I'd probably forget because I'm terrible with names too.
Yeah.
So
I sometimes forget her name, and that's crazy because I helped birth her, so. It's a big space which looks nice. It's open. You got the big garage doors out front. Dean was trying to put those tables down, and he's a decent sized dude, and he was having a tough time getting them over that ledge.
All the tables inside have all come from like one tree, basically.
Yeah, they were
really.
All the same. I can't remember exactly what type of tree it was, but it was a woodworker out in Pennsylvania, and we just kind of found him on Google. We were like, hey, we want a 28-foot bar and a bunch of communals and 2 tops, 4 tops. He's like, no problem, and did a killer job. They look great.
Yeah.
It really gives a nice feel to the building, which. The building itself is beautiful. When we kind of gutted it, we unearthed a lot of old beams and old brickwork that had been there since the 1800s, and a lot of history behind it. So it's a really awesome space. Yeah, all the brick on the Yeah, all the brick on the on either side of the tap room was original. You still see the wooden spacers in between the bricks.
Yeah.
And
the location too. I mean, like that Bourbon Street was like an institution in that town. So
Now, is the town known for something? Is it a commuter town? Is it?
Yeah.
It's a what? It's a
definitely was a big party town.
yeah.
It's they're kind of shifting gears at this point. It's very artisan, very music forward, very mom and pop centric. A lot of smaller businesses and a lot of really great people. A lot of awesome neighbors to both sides of us.
Pretty much, we're friends with like a lot of the business owners in town, and they're all pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And we got that vibe when we came up there. You got the state parks there, almost like surrounding you all over the place. Big state parks, lots of tourism. And it's a great town. You come down the hill, great views. You get to see the, there it is, this paper canoe. You get to see the bridge, the Tappan Zee, as we still call it. And I'll never get used to Mario Cuomo Bridge.
No.
Especially when your florist up the block is still called Tappan Zee Florist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I said to Steve, they didn't change their name, so it's still Tappan Zee to me.
It's just like kind of like a town that, especially in Rockland County, where it's always been a place where people seem to congregate, and because it's a big walking town and everything.
Yeah.
So I think that really like helps having a brewery there, because people are like, they're walking around, they're like, oh hey, here's a brewery. Like, I like beer, like, and just something, you know. And it's not just like going into into like one of the other bars that are there. It's like,
we were there a couple of weeks ago with my family. My wife and I got a couple of beers for the street because I guess the town relaxed the laws, so you guys can at least serve a little bit. So I'm not joking. Probably 3 different people asked us where we got the beers, and we're right there. We're right. I said right there in the open door where it says Two Villains Brewery. And they're like, oh, that's a brewery? I go, yeah. But I said they also have a full bar, so go, if whatever you want. I'm sure you could take stuff to go.
The locals are still kind of adjusting to it. I mean, they've never had one, so it's definitely something new for them. And I mean, Rockland's starting to really blow up with breweries as well. I mean, we have our buddies at District 96, New City, maybe 10, 15 minutes away. We have Defiant Brewing in Pearl River, Industrial Arts, and the list goes on. I mean, we're surrounded by a lot of other great breweries, but we're in a town that's never had
right across the river.
Yeah, exactly. And so for a lot of people, it's like it's different. They think we're a tap house with craft beer. But, they come in, they see the tanks, and they're like, oh, well, I guess you guys make it here.
You got a lot of, you guys make this here?
Yeah, we got a lot of that. We actually had a guest ask us once if our tanks were there for show.
Yes.
I think that's where we store the dead bodies for people to ask dumb questions.
That's what we burn down.
That's where you keep all the hand sanitizer.
Yes.
Yep, that's all we do.
It's a lot of hand sanitizer.
Oh, yeah.
I know
it's the COVID vaccine. We're just waiting for Bill Gates to give the approval.
Give us a thumbs up.
Yeah.
I did notice the bar. Just going back to that, because I noticed it looks like one big solid tree that is one big solid piece.
It's one long piece.
Yeah,
it's
crazy. Much like all the big, like all the tanks and everything was brought in through the windows.
Yeah, right through the front. I mean, you have a kitchen, obviously, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But there's no really street access back there, because when we did our U-turns, because there's a bunch of one ways around there, I'm looking, I'm like, there's really no like alleyway, there's no way they can get anything in the back, so they had to get in the front.
We took all the tanks equipment to the front, and we take all of our grain in through the back, and it's quite a process. So
I was just going to ask that, who's the poor souls that have to
pump right here.
Depalletize and repalletize every single grain order.
Yeah, we're gluttons for that kind of stuff. Punishment.
Are you guys considered a farm brewery?
No, we're brew pub. Yeah, so we have a brew pub license, which gives us, I believe, a capacity of 1,100 barrels a year, something like that.
Now with the brew pub license, you could only distribute a small percentage out.
It's still so much though.
Yeah,
it's like you would never hit it.
Yeah,
like being the size we're at, it's like, well, we would never hit that number.
And of course, with the rules the way they were over the pandemic here, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because it's still probably even with just only beer to go sales.
Yeah, distribution kind of went out. Like we were only lightly doing it anyway because we had the tap room open.
Right.
And right before the quarantine happened, we opened the kitchen, so we're moving all the beer pretty much through the bar.
And your kitchen just opened?
Yeah, the kitchen opened on Valentine's Day.
Just in time.
Perfect timing. No, we were open. We opened November 2019, November 15th. We basically just operated as a tap room just for the beers we made. Full bar and tap room for the first 4 months.
And then we just put out like party mix because that was our food option. Here you go.
Yeah, some Utz party mix. It loopholed us into being able to serve the beer. And no, and it was great. You know, we were building up the brand, building up some recognition, and the kitchen came out and it came out pretty strong. You know, there was a really good response to the food, and the beer and the food kind of went hand in hand. It was a perfect marriage, and everything was kind of looking pretty great.
Yeah.
And then
we were gearing up for like street fairs, everything.
Yeah, and then lockdown happened, which kind of threw a wrench in that for about a month or so, and we didn't brew for almost like 5 or 6 weeks. Everything was kind of uncertain. We weren't really sure where we would be, especially being so young. And we kind of just said, fuck it, we're just gonna keep brewing and keep trying to push the beer.
How many taps do you have in the tap room?
8.
8.
Yeah, that's a good solid number.
Yeah, and
we have 5 fermenters, 2 bright tanks, so 8 seemed like the perfect number.
Yeah. Learning everything we did from bricks, we scheduled out ourselves to kind of stagger out beers and have a good amount of different variety and options on draft for people. But even then, once we started brewing again, we started filling up our draft lines. It started going that much faster. So we were running on a few weeks where we only had maybe 2 or 3 beers on draft. And then we, pivoted to a couple other things in addition to the beer. We tried selling groceries to help out the community.
Yeah, we heard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was
like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. We would be filling out people's grocery orders and throwing in 3 crowlers in with it, and or a fried chicken sandwich with it. And
wish I had that. I want my fried chicken sandwich. Give me 3 growlers with that. Boom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people loved it, and they were grateful, and we were happy to help out in any way we could. And we jumped around. We did the grocery thing, and we did deliveries, which we'd never done. And we were doing it with an insanely small staff. It was Sean and I, Kelsey, who you've met, our general manager. We had Pat, our one cook / delivery guy, and Dan, our head chef, and Mike, our one bartender. And that was our raggedy, little group our quarantine group. And we were there every day, and we wore many hats,
How big was that for New York State to allow you to do door delivery and things like that?
I think that was big for every single place that allowed that.
Do you think that's going to stick around after,
honestly,
that's going to be around in 6 months?
I think that it has. I think it should, and I think that all brewers should go to their state governments and demand that it does.
Yeah, I agree. I even like the fact that I can get deliveries of beer from somewhere else. You pay a little more, but if I could get your beer delivered to me, I'd pay the extra $15 to have it shipped right to my front door.
Shipping and stuff too. Like we didn't do the shipping too much. We were just like, if you're in Nyack, we'll do it.
Right.
But yeah, I think that was a huge thing for everybody.
Yeah.
The fact that, and nothing happened. Nobody, we weren't selling beer to little kids on the street and stuff.
Hey,
it wasn't like.
Is that a 2021 program you guys are looking to spin up, or?
Well, no. We'll have the kids. No, we'll have the kid in the double kids in the long trench coat.
There you go.
Jack Horseman.
You showed a picture of your newborn with the stroller with 2 cans of beer in it.
Serving the community.
Yeah.
Out of the year.
Happy Father's Day. That was pretty big for a lot of people, especially down here. Our ability to just walk by the brewery and take it right out the front door. And then if I, really in the midst of hell, late March, early April, I was getting delivered to my door from my local brewery. They were doing those, within 20 miles or so.
Yeah.
And there, he's got it. Crowlers. Growlers all day. And yeah, I mean, it was huge because I was just still uncertain and really uneasy about being around other people, and that was big. And then as it slowly dissipated, I felt better about traveling and picking up door to door. And now, as it keeps dropping and keeps getting a little easier, phase 2 for you guys was already in, right? So now you're looking at phase 3 now?
Phase 3 starts, I believe, tomorrow.
Okay.
So our kitchen right now is only Thursday through Sunday. So we're only going to have our indoor seating those days. It just gives us a little bit of a reprieve since it's just a few of us working every day. More and more of our employees are coming back little by little as everybody kind of settles back into this norm. Yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of restrictions, guidelines, things that we got to follow.
Is it very clear? I mean, I hear a lot of people responding saying I wish it was clearer about what exactly can happen.
It's very clear. Yeah, it's kind of like just an overall like, hey, you should be doing this, but you don't have to. There's required things, and then there's optional things.
Okay.
They're like, it would be nice if you did this, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
So
there was like weird, like
less people would die if you did this, but
Yeah, but that's your choice.
Up to you.
They also sent you like a weird, like open-ended, like essay thing where it was like, these are the guidelines that you should be following. State how you would follow these guidelines. And you're like,
how would you like to follow these guidelines? Why don't you just tell me?
You just told me. I don't know.
Why don't you tell me how you would like to?
It's like the town. They just like, you tell me what you want to do. Well, I want to have a party on the roof. They're like, fine, have a party on the roof.
Yeah,
I mean that's basically what happened. Like in the beginning with the whole lockdown, when we started like just selling people beer out the window. Like eventually, like somebody called the police on us, and a police officer came up from town. I was like, "Hey, officer, how's it going?" And he's like, "Good." I'm like,
taking a beer?
He's like, I just got called. He's like, I just got called because, somebody called, so I had to go see what was going on. There was like 4 people outside drinking beer. He's like, no, I can see that nothing's really going on. And I'm like, yeah, man.
What do you got on tap?
You totally Jedi mind tricked him.
Like,
I saw
it. Are you guys allowed to do this? Are you allowed to do this? I'm like, you tell me. Yeah. And he's like, guess so.
These are the people you'd like to see drinking. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of understood that we needed to keep the lights on, and and we always made sure that people kind of kept their distance and people, played by the rules, but also we weren't going to say no to somebody who wanted to drink beer.
Yeah, especially because it's all like people from town. I'm not going to be like, this might be the only chance this person got to go outside today. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell them you can't have a beer.
Beer, man.
I just biked 80 miles.
But I was like, you can have a beer out here. They'd be like,
I look the same way because I'm looking.
Unmitigated joy.
Yeah. We pull up and I go, are those people drinking outside? I was just going to take beer to go. And she goes, yeah. We walk up and I think Kelsey was there and is it okay? She's like, yeah, you just go right there. I'm like,
Well, we got this past Saturday. We were there at 11:30.
Yep.
And because they already opened up the windows, people like mulling around like,
beer.
Oh, yeah.
Beer.
Oh, yeah.
Beer.
Especially now with the table seating, like
they just jump on it.
It's been great. I mean, they did this whole like they tried to do this like basically a social experiment on us. They closed down the street of the whole main street.
Oh, did they?
They wanted the businesses to make some money, and since we were allowed to have outdoor seating, the town itself has street fairs in the summer. They close down Main Street, they close down the one cross street, and they allow every business and food truck and what have you kind of set up. And maybe 10,000, 15,000 people show up every year for these things.
But this is like, they're like, oh, we're like celebrating the fact that we're like in phase 2.
Yeah, they called it, they gave it like a fancy title, like Nyack Summer Nights. And, and it was kind of made to be this like picturesque, outdoor seating in the street where there's 6 tables are 6 feet apart and there's, a reasonable amount of people in each establishment. And by 10 o'clock at night, it looked like Mardi Gras.
People just losing their shit trying to get out of the house.
2,000 people in town. We were like, let's see how it goes, like we're just getting out of this whole lockdown thing. People are probably gonna still be afraid to go out. And then I think at 8:30 at night, I looked down the street. And I was like, oh my god. Yeah.
People taking wind cycles across the Hudson to try to get to you.
Yeah.
Oh, Steve just
Steve.
bailed. I think his phone probably just died. I saw his lighting going in and out. It's an amazing thing that these towns did to kind of keep the businesses going. We saw the same thing happening here. We have a couple of major.
Where are you located?
We're in Suffolk County, New York. I'm in Suffolk. Pete's right over the border in Nassau. So we're within like 10 minutes of each other. We're really close to each other. But there's some major hub towns around us: Farmingdale, Patchogue, Babylon, and they proposed that shut down Main Street thing, which still hasn't happened. They used to do it, and they called it Alive After 5, and they'd set up like
so the thing is for the phase 3 thing, the municipality has to provide the seating, the tables
right.
and chairs.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're, restaurant A, if you had seating in the street, that would count as like in-person dining, which wasn't allowed. So the municipality would have to go out and buy or rent a shit ton of tables and chairs to give to the restaurants and bars.
Hundreds and hundreds of them.
So our mayor was like, no, fuck that.
Well, I mean, ours was well received by the public, maybe not so much by the town. Didn't happen the week after, but they're letting it happen again this week, so we'll see.
Oh,
what
nice.
happens.
All right.
Yeah,
I mean, there wasn't anything like in the news, local news, that said because of that X, Y, and Z got the virus. Or
yeah. There was nothing really negative.
That's good.
About it, other than the fact that there were so many people there. I think that was just really the only concern. But I mean, you could see, how bad people want to be back at their local breweries, at their local, tap rooms, and I mean, even us, we used to always take our days off and go visit our buddies at breweries, which we do now. But we used to sometimes be going out to Pennsylvania, down in Tired Hands, going to drive. We go for drives, and oh, hey, welcome back.
And he's back. Phone did not connect, he wrote.
I could see the kind of urgency in people's faces, like when they come out and they
Matt, come here and kiss me.
Want to sit down for beer and food. But I mean, it's an interesting thing, and we're going to keep adjusting, kind of as everything else adjusts around us.
Fucked up time.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the other one. There's the second one.
Attack.
There he is. The big
What's
guy.
up, buddy?
All right, we'll see you later.
Dog eat you yet or what?
No, he's still in one piece right now.
Does he have all his fingers and toes?
So far.
All right.
Hey, don't say so far.
Yeah, see.
What did he say?
He said, I didn't say so far.
Hey.
There he is.
Hey.
What's up? What happened?
Yeah, my computer just decided
bed?
to reboot itself.
It's time to do an upgrade. Now you got to upgrade Windows 98 to Windows 2000.
Windows 98.
I use the Mac. I use the
I'm
Mac.
just kidding. Well, then you got the new Catalina instead of the El Capitan.
Catalina wine mixer?
The fucking Catalina wine mixer. You got it.
Catalina wine mixer.
Catalina wine mixer.
Look, we're strictly 80s Billy Joel.
Yes.
Okay.
Great title for a beer too, by the way.
Way Uptown Girl.
We had we had these guys come in to the studio from Ambassador Studios. They are doing a film called In Hops We Trust, and one of the girls on the team actually grew up within a few blocks of your brewery. So when we posted the announcement, they immediately texted us like, "Oh, Ruth lives a few blocks away, or still does maybe." I think their headquarters for the studios in New Jersey, so she's an opposite commuter than you are or were.
Yeah.
And they had very good things to say about the beer, which was the first thing that I was excited about. When we went the first time, I picked up the Citra Blonde. We drank that on the street. Delicious. I love Citra as a hop, so it's a single hop, I would assume, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Everything from the Whirlpool to the dry hop. Yeah, all Citra.
100%.
So it was awesome. And then I was able to get my hands on Laser Eyes IPA. Laser God Eyes.
Laser Eye God.
Laser Eye Gods. There we go.
Yes.
But like I was
we don't
saying,
think our beer name's easy to say. Sorry.
There could be worse. Steve's coming in.
Oh my
double
God!
time.
Are there going to be twin Steves? Because
He's going 2 angles. There's one
that
angle.
might be too hard for me to handle.
Do you want me to drop your other one, Steve?
Yeah, please.
All right, let me.
I might fly out of my chair.
Remove that guy. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
You get double angle Steves. And then that IPA, when I brought it home, I said I couldn't contain myself. I needed to drink a crowler of IPA immediately. It was delicious. These guys,
I'm liking it.
Yeah.
This right here is, I just
The
love
Kolsch.
the idea of the Kolsch, and it's dry hopped.
Yeah.
Which when we had Barrage open, we were doing a lot of IPLs, a lot of
God, do I
dry
miss
hopped
those?
IPLs, and the beer is so crisp to begin with, and it has that really nice sweet malt flavor, and then now you got these really great hop aromas and flavors right on top of it. So
yeah.
This is a really great job, guys. Really good.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, we
I'll have to crack that one open next.
we have an affinity for hops. I mean, we like to kind of put like a little dry hop twist on a lot of different styles, and obviously your IPAs and pale ales, doubles, and we also just really love clean beers, pilsners, Kolsch's, and we had already done a Kolsch. We were happy with how it came out.
That was pretty much really just super traditional.
Yeah, just everything about it.
That's what I mean. This has that. It has that traditional Kolsch flavor, but with the added hop profile, which is
Dumb question: Is Kolsch a lager?
It is not. No, it's an ale. It's
okay.
Yeah, it's fermented at lager temps. We still give it a diacetyl rest as well, just like you would with a lager. We still condition it out. With this one, I mean, our
do you do a step mash? Do you do a?
No. We just do a typical single infusion mash, but we do some first wort hops for it, and we use German Kalista and Ariana, which we hadn't used before, but we heard good things about, and we also threw it in the dry hop, and it does impart this like kind of tropical berry citrus note that was just really pleasant, and we were trying it out of the tanks, we just kind of wanted that little bit of flair to a Kolsch, something.
It's a really good beer. I could drink that in the summertime, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was our intent. We wanted it to be just the perfect beer to sit poolside with, or just on a warm day, just crush something down.
Now, you guys going to be, really hop forward on the majority of your beers, or you're going to do, some stouts, some porters?
I mean, so far we have been, but also we've done a lot of like cool like saison beers. Like we did a lemon saison, lemon grisette. We did a dry hop saison, and we did the orange and green tea saison.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we loved making saisons, home brewers. We love mixed culture, and we're not quite set up for that yet. So we do these, cleaner saisons, and we do adjust pH. We try to make it a little bit tart.
How is the water profile up in Nyack?
Insanely hard.
Good question, because I was going to say upstate
really
water
hard,
usually very hard.
A lot of sodium. Really hard water. Everything gets calcified. It's gross to ever drink it from the tap, but no, we treat it. We treat pretty much every beer, and we adjust it to style too. So our New Englands have our 1 ratio over the Kolsch even, and we play around with it, even with dark ales, and going back to what you're saying, being hop forward, we tend to kind of lean in that direction for a lot of our beers. We know they sell well. We enjoy drinking them ourselves.
Yeah.
And
we just try to make them not IPAs all the time.
Yeah, we try to kind of add a twist. So
I like the Kolsch is actually delicious because of that dryness to it.
Yeah,
it's a very
different
take on it. Yeah.
Yeah, the blonde ale is very similar.
Drinks like a pale ale basically.
Yep. And our one flagship beer, Harmonic Resin, it's a cream ale, and
that is also lightly dry hopped.
Yeah, lightly dry hopped, but we use Mandarina Bavaria, and it just gives off just this like nice subtle citrus note to otherwise a very clean beer, and we like kind of giving that little bit of an extra twist on things. But in general, we like to give a lot of diversity in our draft list. We like the hoppy stuff, but we do love the saisons, the grisettes, pretty much anything sessionable.
Is that kind of what you guys are going for? Those some lower ABV beers on the.
I'm trying to sneak as many in as we can.
As I get older, that's getting to be more appealing.
I
don't know about you guys, but like when I got into craft beer, I'm like, well, what's the most, what'll get me, drunkest, quickest?
Sure, yeah.
I told myself I didn't like.
Comes along.
Yeah, and then the triple comes along.
There you go.
Yeah, I know.
I told myself I didn't like IPAs, but I'd always drink Optical Illusion from Blue Point because it was like 8%.
Yeah.
Yeah, years ago it was
double
like
IPA.
Give me the most bitter, most alcoholic IPA that I can get.
Able to try or taste.
Well, that's also how I got into like the Belgian styles because a lot of those like doubles and triples were up there in ABV.
Sure.
So
less calories, more effed upness.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, win-win. Right.
Did you guys? I know I left for a minute. Did you guys explain a couple of things here? Paper Canoe. What are you guys doing on this, huh? You guys?
Oh yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Subtle in our approach.
Are you canoeing this? What are you doing over here?
Yeah. This is the COVID madness, man. This is, we don't care.
Yeah. So this beer is actually it's an homage to our head chef Dan.
I see what Dan's all about, making good food.
Yeah, well, we're all kind of in that same boat. So
First he wakes and then he bakes. I know how cooks work.
Oh, okay. I don't have the can. Okay.
You don't have it with you? I gave you one.
It's in the fridge.
Ah, you son of a bitch.
There you go.
Take a walk to the fridge.
There it is.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Swing better.
Yeah, so on these like really rough days, we always kind of bonded over a smoke, as they say, and they our buddy Dan, or our chef Dan, was always known to canoe it every single time.
It burns on one side more than the other.
Not
Pete.
my thing.
It burns in such a way that it looks like
it just burns unevenly.
It burns unevenly, and we always just kind of poke fun at him for it. And one day we said, Dan, we're gonna brew a new beer and we're gonna name it, after you in some way. And
Paper Canoe.
Yeah.
There is no fault, Pete, because scientifically speaking, it's nobody's fault that it canoes, unless you're the one that packed it or you're the one that rolled it. But even so, you got to kind of evenly distribute the heat, just like in a cigarette. If you don't keep moving it, or in a cigar,
alcohol has always been my drug of choice.
Okay, so you guys know Dave Krumholtz?
Yeah, one of our best friends in the world, man.
Yeah,
shout out to the homeboy.
Yeah. He's going, hey, check out John's guns. These guys are geniuses over here.
No, he's definitely one of our best friends.
Cool.
Actually, so we're going to be releasing a beer
named after him.
Just because we love him so much. But the beer is just called Dave.
Dave.
Picture of his face on the label. It's going to be a triple IPA with Galaxy, Big Secret, Nelson, Citra, and Mosaic, I believe.
Wow, so you really like him?
Yes, we do. Yes.
But that sounds awesome.
Yeah, no, it's actually, so being so small, we haven't really had access to some of these more like glamour boutique hops, as some of the bigger names or people that have been in it longer. Contracts were a little harder to come by for us in the very beginning. Especially because we opened right after harvest. So we saw that a couple of different third parties had these hops that we've been looking for, and we jumped on it. We got pretty much everything we possibly could, and we kind of were just like, what, fuck it, let's throw them all into a beer together. We know it'll turn out well. We've used all of them before at Bricks, and yeah, I mean,
especially with the canning thing. It's just like,
the canning influences a lot of these bigger hoppier beers coming out.
Yep.
I mean, and that's just one of a few that we're coming out with. We've just kind of been brewing every week, just brewing up a storm, trying to fill tanks up as often and as quickly as we can.
Now, I don't know how big is your system? 5-barrel?
7-barrel.
7
barrel, yeah. We have 5 7-barrel tanks and 2 7-barrel brights.
It's a great system. Shout
Stouts?
out. No, it's not. Well, it's Brewmation. Makes all the panel, and it's an all electric system.
Oh, okay.
And then Scout makes all the tanks.
They're actually they're from upstate, aren't they, Brew Nation?
Yeah, they're from Fishkill. They're pretty local, and
it turned out one of our partners knew the owner from like back in their bar days.
Yeah.
And then reconnected, and he's like, "Hey, I make brew houses." And he's like, "Oh, hey, I'm opening a brewery."
Sold.
You're wearing a Brewers Collective shirt. Aren't they also on an electric system, Mike?
Yes.
I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the Brewers Collective.
I think that's rare on the island, right, Steve?
Dubco's original system was electric. And then they obviously now they have the larger system, but they still have the small one. They do, small
pilot batch.
Pilot, unique stuff.
Yeah, it's a great system. I mean, it's automated where it needs to be, and it's you have to turn a lot of levers too, so it's great.
Yeah, it gives us a little bit of hands-on that we kind of crave, but also this foundation where we don't want to break our backs.
Yeah.
And it was our first time working with an all-electric system, but it's been great. Super easy to maintain. And I mean, really, the only reason we went with it was space. We had nowhere to put a boiler room. It would have been way too much.
Direct flame after using it for so long, bricks was not really an option.
The space is limited.
And the space too. It would have got so hot in there.
Because we always knew we were to have the tap room be a restaurant as well, and the electric works. It fits well in the space. It's not super loud.
Boiling your guests is probably frowned upon in the restaurant industry, I would imagine.
Yeah, probably. But it's great. I mean, we've been able to like brew with people in there eating and stuff before, so it's really cool, and it adds to the experience too for people that go there.
Where people just
if you're chowing down on a burger and there's a beer being brewed right there, that's sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had a lot of customers come in from because they smelled the wort outside, and they're like, "Oh, what's going on in here?" Yeah.
Where they see cleaning tanks, and then I had to explain to them why I'm doing this. They're like, "What are you doing?
The tanks are just for show. What are you doing?"
Not real.
It's all a very elaborate puppet show, I swear.
And at 9 o'clock, there actually is a puppet show.
That'd be the ultimate villainous move if we were just the faces of two villains. People doing all the work.
So you guys built a bunch of these concepts along the way, from your home brewing to Brick City. You created foundation and flagship beers. You mentioned one before. Are there any others that are recurring so far, or which beer has been probably the most created or made over and over again since you guys have been there?
Harmonic resonance.
Yeah, the cream ale. Definitely the cream ale has been very, very widely accepted, and people really love it.
Which is crazy because it's not really a cream ale culture right now.
It's not
because look at our location, man.
Yeah,
that's true.
You got tons of people coming in that have no idea.
They have no
idea. They've heard of craft beer. They think it's all IPAs, and I'm like, well, this is a craft beer.
Yeah, I think the combination of that. and the fact that there's some dry hop to it, and that it's a style that you don't necessarily see too often. And I think even like the avid craft beer fan, they see a cream ale and they're like, oh, I'm gonna give that a shot. I haven't had a cream ale or seen a cream ale in a while, and it's just like a really nice, simple beer. You don't have to put too much thought to it. It goes super well with food. So it's definitely been a really big seller for us. But I'd say on top of that, our other big flagship is a double IPA called A Monument to All Your Sins. It is, I believe, Mosaic, Citra, El Dorado, and Cashmere.
Oh, man. I'm such a big fan of Cashmere.
We absolutely love it. Yeah, the lemon lime kind of grassy, but still very tropical. It's
and it just has that dank, that aroma, that really dank weed style aroma.
I see why you like it so much.
It's very unique. It has a very unique flavor and like smell to it.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of it. It's really underused. It's really actually not that expensive of a hop.
No,
it's not. Very cheap.
It really goes a long way when you put it into a beer. You really don't need to put
it accentuates a lot of cool flavors.
Yeah, I mean, on its own, it's pretty dominant. It can get pretty vegetal pretty quickly. So it just makes a really good kind of assistant to some of the mosaics and citras out there, and it complements them very well. It's a really versatile hop, and I love it. I mean, the first time we used it, we were blown away by it, and we never look back with any recipe that includes it.
Yeah. The other big one for us is Seymour hops, which is our pale ale.
Yep, Seymour hops,
which is usually it's not a single hop beer. It's a beer that accentuates one particular hop.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
It's not a single hopped pale ale, but it's a rotating series where
one hop has a dominance over the other blend of hops that we're using to make the beer taste the way.
Okay.
So your percentages are just more of that than others.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're kind of highlighting that.
And we highlight a specific hop in harmony with a couple other things.
Yeah.
How often does that series come out and go around?
Summer Hops number 3 will be coming out probably at the end of July.
Yeah, it comes out every couple months or so.
Okay.
I mean, the last 3 months, for us, it was really just about creating as many different brands as we could.
Yeah.
Kind of diversifying a little bit more so that we stood out. And we weren't just putting out the same 3 or 4 beers, especially with how the marketplace is now. People want to check off as many different beers as they can, and at the same time, it gives Sean and I the ability to try all these different recipes out, try all these different ideas out. Yeah. I mean, the Citra Blonde Ale, I've been annoying Sean for months to brew that beer. I wrote it up randomly one night, and then I was like, I really want to make.
You didn't let it go for like 3 months. I was just like, all right,
yeah. Yeah, we were in a good place to brew it up and release it alongside.
Because like most people, I was just like, I mean, who's gonna want that beer? Like, we will, but like.
Yeah, especially being at Bricks, we saw what styles sold and what didn't. It didn't matter how good the beer was. There was some overlooked styles and
everywhere. Talking to all of our friends, it's like. Everybody's known for their IPAs now, and double IPAs and triple IPAs now. And that, I mean, listen, that's what the market wants. And, we love them too. So we'll make them, no problem. But it's like, well, we always want to what else can we do? Like John was saying earlier, like we'll make the cream ale that has a little bit of dry hop. We'll make the paper canoe that's a dry hop Kolsch. Because it's like, hey, if you like IPAs, like you should probably try this out too. Because if you like hops, we're giving you hops still.
We're not denying you any hops. We have all of the hops.
We will make
what do you want?
So many hops.
The town comes in, asks you what you want to do, and then you go out and you ask the customers, what do you want? We'll give you whatever you want. All of the hops.
No, they want all the hops.
All the hype hops you can fucking get.
I mean, even what's the vibe? I guess like now that's the second version, the pineapple one we just put out.
Well, I wanted to talk about that because I'm reluctant to crack that right this second because I've already had 2 beers and a beer right before this as I'm walking down the block, but I think I might have to have that. And if I do that,
your dog and have a beer?
Yes, of course I do. So
that's a great idea.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, what else are you gonna do?
What else are you gonna do?
I mean, you pick up poop, you hold the can and the leash, and then you do the poop thing.
So which do I?
Right, so that's it. I can't do both. It's either the crowler
do I go here?
or the triple. Otherwise, I'm never going to bed, and I'm spinning in my bed. I'm thinking I gotta crack the crowler.
The triple's dangerous. I remember the first night that we had it in the Bray tank. We kept taking a little bit of a sample out, try it to see how the carbonation was progressing, and about a couple hours of that, and we definitely didn't drive home that night.
No, you just took a bike from the street and just drove it home.
Exactly.
Robbed one of the bikers.
Thousands of bikes. They'd probably just leave them around too. There's just so many bikers.
Oh yeah,
man. They come with those bikes.
Just grab and go. You can just leave it wherever. Somebody else will come and get it eventually and ride it around.
They call you ahead of time, and they're like, I'm going to be coming by at 11:59 according to my GPS. I want you to hand out the window like it's a bottle of Gatorade, and I'll grab it as I drive by. Thank you. And right by.
All right. I'm opening. So I just finished the Laser-Eyed God. Do I open from the Brewers? Do I open the Kolsch, the Triple, or the Dry Hop Blonde?
I'm going to say the Blonde.
Yeah, I was going to say Blonde too. I like the Blonde.
Tell me about the pineapple.
Yeah, because I'm gonna crack it open. Let me finish my Kolsch first. I always put an R in that.
Just give us a rundown on it because this is really good, man.
Thank you. Yeah. So what's the vibe is our Creamsicle IPA series.
And I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah, and the reason we call it a creamsicle and not a milkshake, which is a very popular style right now or sub style, is because there's no lactose in it. A lot of times you see brewers and throwing lactose into fruited IPAs to get that kind of milkshake, creaminess and that extra sweetness. We like to keep lactose out of hoppy beers as often as possible, if not always.
Does it bring all the boys to the yard? Is that the fear? Or?
Well, I mean, because we had done a couple of other fruited IPAs and double IPAs at the brewery, and
there's the blonde.
I don't know. We're just kind of like, you know what? We like these. We like the fruited IPA thing, but I'm like, the lactose is just so sweet. And
so then, what are you substituting? Are you doing milk sugar instead of lactose? What's the?
That is lactose.
All right.
It's the fancy terminology for lactose.
Fuck me running, huh? Jesus.
God, Mike, you're so fucking stupid.
I wouldn't mind it from John and Sean, but then Steve's like, "Don't be a dick. You should know this by now." He's like my teacher. He's like, Mike, you've been doing this a while. You should know milk sugar is lactose.
No, we to kind of get that similar flavor profile as a milkshake, we use vanilla, which kind of gives that kind of confectionery sweetness to it without kind of overdoing it. But the lactose always added that kind of extra little sweetness, and the beers are great with them. We brewed a bunch of them ourselves. We made a bunch of them, and but 8 ounces in, and you're
still drink a bunch of them.
Yeah, 8 ounces in, and you're on the toilet, and and we know a lot of people.
That's the price you pay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a small price, but
and also you got to think about the people that can't even drink lactose.
That's true.
Yes, there's a lot.
And there are many of them out there.
Yeah, and
those genetic mistakes. I get it.
There's that, and you'll be surprised that many vegans will ask you immediately.
Get the fuck out of here! Really, I would not have even thought of that.
That was actually kind of a joke with us. We wanted to use the tagline. It's now vegan for it, and because we know that a lot of vegans won't drink anything with lactose. But no, I mean, it was just our way of doing a popular style, but with just doing it our way. Emulating some sweetness without adding the extra sugar.
How did you add the pineapple?
So it's an extract puree.
Okay.
And we added in post fermentation. We dry hop at the same time, so we kind of do both. Prior to racking to our bright tank, we then add a little bit more puree, and we add the vanilla. We let it kind of sit on all that for about a day or two as we're carbonating. And then it's just all pretty much added post fermentation to kind of preserve those delicate fruit flavors that tend to kind of ferment out. And at the same time, we let it ride because we know that it's going to drop a few points probably with added sugar, and it does kind of impart a nice flavor when you kind of let it ferment out a little.
You get a little more dryness too, so
yeah. And we're not afraid to have our beers be a little drier.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people want 1040 finishing gravities on their stouts and double IPAs now, but
sure. No, I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I like that little bit of dry snap. That little.
Yeah.
As you drink it, it's just you actually, it's almost a mouthfeel.
Yeah, definitely. It's we try our best to kind of get that mouth coating, that palate coating flavor that kind of lingers.
This is definitely a really good job.
Thank you.
We just hit Instagram Live. Craig Atwood said, "What's up?" Bottomless Brewing Geneva said, "What's up?" Happy Hogan says, "What's going on?" Buried Acorn checking in, saying, "What's going on? What's going on, Buried Acorn?" I think I've been there. Brewology is checking in. A bunch of people on Instagram.
Is that a brewery, Buried Acorn?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, did I not say Buried Acorn Brewing? Did I miss that part? Yes. New York State Brewery, I believe. Awesome. I think they're on the Think New York, Drink New York app. If I'm out of line, they can let me know. But they're saying, hey, they give you a little wave emoji. Hello. I go on every so often just to see what's going on. Oh, Paul from Ghost checking in. What's up, Paul?
Oh!
Saying what's going on. So
I like that he continues to post the guidelines for phase 2 drinking in the story.
Every day.
I love that because you can't underestimate the stupidity of people.
Oh yeah.
So I want to go back to that really quick because I think we talked a little bit about that. You guys are entering this phase 3 coming up on Wednesday, or would you say?
So it starts tomorrow. We won't be starting until Thursday, but it does start tomorrow for Mid-Hudson region.
Right. So what guidelines or what are you guys doing at the brewery that is going to, at your best point, try to follow what you think they're trying to do? Like, what are the main points here on phase 3 for you?
I think the big thing is
letting people inside.
We're having people inside. It does cause some concern for space, especially like our brew pub is a little narrower. It's a bigger space, but we're only going to be able to fit so many tables. So for us, I mean, a big way for us to kind of corral people and keep it maintained is by taking reservations and then kind of giving our staff enough time to clean and do their thing. And because the big guideline is the space, the distance between, the wearing the masks when you're not seated. Those are the big things that we try to reinforce.
Yeah, we're already used to wearing masks every moment.
Exactly.
So I saw like a post on Worst Beer blog, about some posting a summation of a conversation at a restaurant where like some a patron got really pissed off at having to put on a mask. Is that a fucking problem for you guys? Like where people come in and are put off by, I've been to a couple shops. People are really put off by wearing masks. Like fucking new, or something.
So here's the thing. In my opinion, right?
We have to wear a mask. What's going on with the world?
So here's the thing. It's like you only have to wear the mask coming in,
going to the bathroom,
and leaving.
Yeah.
It's like a really, really low bar, right?
Like at any other point when you're sitting down at a table, people act like, "Oh, how am I going to eat?" You don't have to wear your mask.
You remove your fucking mask. Like, why is that like?
I
don't understand.
He needs to wear his mask. We work here, so we have to. All of our staff has to wear masks. We have to wear gloves. Like, you get to be a normal person and just sit. But if you're going to my restaurant, wear a mask.
It doesn't sound like a heavy lift.
I don't care if while you're going to the bathroom, you take it off. Just make sure you put it back on when I see you again.
Yeah, I mean it's tricky. There's a lot of weird, just kind of gray areas with the guidelines, and we're just going by what we know, and going until someone tells us that we can't do it a certain way, or to change it up, or do whatever else we need to do.
The 6 feet of space thing is not the worst thing, but it's like a lot of is it from 6 feet from this to this, or is it like
chair to chair, middle of the table to
missteps in getting information out of people? So it's but I feel like wearing a mask, like even I don't know that it's doing anything, but it doesn't hurt me to wear it. Like it's a minor inconvenience. So if that's now the new social contract, whatever. If wearing a mask to fucking get a table means I can go out and get away from my kids for a couple hours.
Yeah, that's it. Like,
I'm here for it.
That's
the moment you sit down, you can take that out right off.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, just as it was on the first day of lockdown, I mean, we're gonna keep kind of rolling with the punches. We're gonna keep adapting to whatever the situation may be. We worked our asses off to get to this point, and we're stubborn, and we refuse to kind of let go of our dream because of what's going on right now. And if we have to follow guidelines, we'll follow them. We'll brew every day. We'll brew and then change clothes and come bartend, and then we
and in the the cooler room, though, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Take your phone orders in the walk-in. Yeah.
You're a professional brewer, and you're not keeping your clothes in the walk-in.
Get out.
No bueno.
Don't tell me what comfort is.
So, Bottomless Brewing in Geneva just asked to join our live Instagram. I don't know how that's going to work. I'm just going to say yes, but now they're not coming in, so I'm not sure what's going on. Try it again, guys. But I would have
their clothes in the walk-in.
Yeah, that's probably what they want to talk about. How awesome it was
They're
to
too
do that.
neutral, those Swiss people.
If they try to go back in, then I'll just relay the information into the question because I'm sure they had a question for it. That's why I wrote in the feed.
So I ask a question of all the brewers every show. So we were talking about it earlier. You guys got into craft beer early, and you were drinking a bunch of different styles. So what was the first beer that turned you on to craft beer that you were like, wow? What is your favorite style, and what is your favorite craft beer right now, other than your own breweries?
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say that the first beer that really kind of turned me onto the whole scene and the whole thing would probably be Arrogant Bastard. I mean, after that first time I had it, I wasn't very fond of it the first time I drank it, but going back to it time and time again, I really formed a real
The label like almost challenges you.
Yeah.
I feel like if I don't like this, I must be some huge pussy that
exactly. If you don't
is easily swayed by an ad campaign. I better learn to like this.
Yeah. And it kind of boosted our love for hops and for bitterness. And I mean, even now with our New England styles, we're not afraid to throw a little bit of a bite to some of our beers, and that's kind of tipping the cap to those guys and saying like, yeah, we remember those West Coast styles and stuff.
That's good to hear.
And we will be coming out with some West Coast double IPAs and stuff in the future as well. Arrogant Bastard favorite.
That's the king, baby. I had one today. With dinner.
Nice.
So I had a party a few weeks ago, and there was just a can in my fridge. I was like, oh shit, all right. I haven't had this one in a while. That was a big one. I mean, back then, you could barely find it in New Jersey. So when you saw that stone label in New Jersey, it was just like,
you got it.
You got to get it, no matter what it was. But that was it. What was the second one?
Favorite style.
Favorite. So it almost changes with the seasons. I have a lot of favorites, but I mean, if I had to really kind of dial it into one or two, it would go back and forth between pale ales and saisons. I love both.
Ooh, that's a good combo. Love me a pale ale and definitely love me a good saison.
Both good summer styles too.
Exactly. Yeah. Just sessionable beers. I mean, I tend to gravitate towards them any time of the year, really, especially in the warmer weather. But like, and for our love of hops in general, like I absolutely love IPAs and double IPAs. But I always find myself going back to like the paper canoes and the blonde ales,
which is delicious, by the way. I really enjoyed that Kolsch.
Yeah.
Thanks. I would say we wouldn't be.
Sure, it's Belgian styles. We know.
Yeah, Belgian triples. This guy.
Me and John wouldn't be who we are.
Golden drag all day.
Yeah. Took it back. No, I mean, me and John wouldn't be best friends if I didn't say basically the same answer. I mean, I love pale ales, IPAs, saisons. I could drink saison at any day, any time. Pale ale. I don't even know whatever we consider pale ales at this point, but
which is tough because they're not what I remember.
There's several versions now. There's American.
I've had plenty of beers that are called IPAs that are pale ales, and I've had plenty of pale ales that are IPAs at this point. So
kind of a blind line.
I would say any hoppy beer that's hop forward, that's 5% to 6.8%.
He's got
That's very specific.
Yeah, very specific.
But if it goes 6.9, nope.
Too much
out of here. Yeah, that's
too much.
And the second letter has to be a G. But you're right.
And
I
I
mean,
asked a question last episode that was a huge flop, so I'm going to try it again.
ooh.
Is there a craft beer trend that you wish would go away?
How much more time do we have?
Plenty. Plenty of time.
A half hour ago, at least.
So, all right, not to say that I think that they're bad, because I've had some really, really good ones, but I'm going to say pastry stouts.
Oh boy, shots fired, Steve.
I gotta go.
See, no. So my thing with it is I love them when they're done well, but I keep finding myself trying some that are 14, 15, 16% and just being like, well, Jesus Christ, this is just.
When's it gonna end?
Yeah. Like there's 30 adjuncts listed, and I taste maybe 3 of them, but like, it's motor
like chocolate.
Yeah, they all just taste like chocolate. But
all tastes like chocolate.
It's got bananas, cloves, and pineapple. Chocolate.
Peanut butter. Baby Ruth nuts.
Exactly.
Steve was sort of known for pastry stouts, and
he was
I was
the OG
super disappointed when he closed down. But I liked his IPAs. I thought were amazing. Like those are my favorite beers to get out of Barrage.
Oh yeah.
The pastry stouts. I don't know. Too many adjuncts, I think, for me.
Yeah.
For in general, it always seems like work drinking.
I think
drinking
sure,
one of those.
and again, like we've had some amazing examples of it, and there's been some that I've absolutely loved, and we've even made, and again, going back to just throwing a twist on things, we even made our own version of a pastry stout, but it was 6.5%, and it was a lot
beer.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, and I believe somebody called it a mini pastry stout or a micro pastry stout.
Pastry stout.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just overall, the whole movement that's in craft beer right now, whether it's the pastry stout thing or the pastry sour thing or whatever, is just so much of just like, here's 7 different things in a beer, and it's like, well why am I? What's the point of this beer? I don't like, who's drinking this beer? Who's drinking this?
Not Germans.
No,
Van Haskellboot.
It's like it's not even that. It's like you almost just like, I understand that beer is supposed to be like a mouth experience and a taste experience and stuff, but it's to a point where I'm like, well, I just want to drink dry hop Kolsch. I'd rather just have that.
Yeah, man.
If I can see the sediment from the puree lacing the glass as I drink it, then I don't know what's really going on in that. I don't know if I could still call that a beer, but again, no, not to just throw hate at it. But
yeah, listen, in like 3 months we'll probably make one. So
next week we're coming back.
It'll be your biggest seller, and you'll be like,
that's why we're the villains, baby. We know what's up.
the two villains.
That's it.
One hand we have the middle finger, the other we're waving.
So me and Mike were talking. All right, so you're the 2 villains. If you guys had to pick each to be a villain from a comic book, what villain would you be?
Are we only limited to comic books or any media?
By media, what do you mean? Like
movies?
Like anime or?
Yeah, you could go into movie entertainment. We'll say, yeah.
Entertainment, sure.
Or political. No.
Please don't. Listen.
We don't need any bad press.
Always Hitler.
We don't need any bad
Hitler
press.
would be number 1.
Yes.
He would be number 1, yes.
Mussolini, close 5. Close 5.
Man.
Just to go streamline, I'm going to say Dr. Doom in terms of
great answer.
Yeah.
And did you like what's his face's portrayal of Dr. Doom in Fantastic Four?
There's never been a good Dr. Doom in any movies ever.
Okay.
Those movies are so terrible.
Yeah, that's because Fox had a hand in it. That's why.
Man, you look at the Fantastic Four movies and anyone's criticism of comic book movies ever, and you're like, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think the ones from the early 2000s are not that bad for when they came out.
The first one is not that bad. The second one, not good. I didn't like that one at all. With the Silver Surfer.
If you look at the time frame, what else is coming out at the time?
That's true. Nothing.
The X-Men movies at that time were good.
Yeah.
They were, yeah. Those were probably the best things going.
Yep.
So, what are you guys? Marvel, DC, Dark Horse?
Yeah, definitely Marvel.
Marvel.
All right, so talk to me about, because I'm a big Marvel fan. I grew up with comics. I wanted to wait till later to geek out just a few minutes.
Sorry.
Let's talk about.
If I was going to stick to comic books, my answer though would be Apocalypse.
Okay. Which was not a bad portrayal on the X-Men recently. It wasn't terrible.
I fucking hated that movie.
It wasn't
Apocalypse
terrible.
in the X-Men, like the X-Men cartoon from the 90s. Yes.
True.
Yeah.
That's true too. And I
I'll
watched.
be like, I'm the all far, the old man.
And I grew up with those, and I said, how can they do this? And I got what they were going, because they teased it in Days of Future Past or whatever was, Days of Future Past. And that was a really cool tease. I'm like, oh, fuck, they're going to bring back the Four Horsemen. And then it was like, all right, they're going to bring in the new people to be the Four Horsemen. And then,
We would pivot into an entirely different podcast if I started talking about
that movie like solidified for me. Oscar Isaac is not a good actor. Like.
No, it
I
wasn't
saw
a
Ex
good.
Machina, and I'm like, oh,
he's a poor man's Dave Krumholtz.
Yeah,
That's what
I heard.
Yeah, exactly.
But like the recent stuff going on with the Marvel universe, and we're probably gonna get to this, but let's very quickly talk about Captain Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and Black Widow. With all of the Marvel-based TV shows and films getting delayed and moved back, how do you think that changes the writers' portrayal of what the future movies are going to be? Because so much time has passed, people are going to want to, what do you think that did to those TV shows and films?
I mean, I know they're trying to integrate the shows into the movies and like make it just this giant, just one big, enormous storyline. And I don't know. I think it poses
pushed back.
Yeah, I think their solution to it is just kind of shoving everything back.
Hold everything back.
Also, you got to remember that those movies currently, when those TV shows come out, will all take place in the future.
That's correct.
So it doesn't even production wise, yes, but so now we're gonna have the second season of Falcon Winter Soldier or something like that when they make references to coronavirus.
That's true.
You know what I mean? They're like,
I'm very curious to see what this does.
That took place during the snap, right? So all of a sudden it'll be like, damn, the snap happened and they had coronavirus. Shit, life was terrible.
I'm really curious to see what it does to pop culture in general. Like when do we start seeing references to coronavirus on just regular TV shows, not necessarily like Marvel, just.
And from everybody,
to watch a movie and see a crowd of people like, oh god, they're not social distancing. Fucking idiots.
You're gonna start getting anxiety from seeing people close together.
Gervais for Larry David to come out with the first coronavirus movie.
Yes, 100%. 100. That's gonna be fantastic. He's gonna do an awesome job with it.
Just super sarcastic.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Put your mask on. Put your mask on.
Fucking Larry, what the fuck with the fucking mask?
You was in the restaurant, he was coughing.
He didn't even use his elbow. That's savage.
But you're right. I mean, it's going to start integrating into that, and I think it also has truly affected things. If you look at the timeline, that whole thing has been pushed back. I'm really anticipating a Eternals teaser trailer coming up in the next few weeks, because I have seen nothing. Yeah. Or I want to see a promo with old Captain America getting the antibody test at CityMD. He's just like, I'm Captain America.
Nope, I don't think I will.
That super soldier serum didn't protect me.
No, Steve Rogers would have the best mask, dude.
He would.
Come on.
Or
he'd have an Iron Man mask that he just walks out. It's like, yeah, Kobe's was rocking out for years.
That's true. Winter Soldier's protected forever.
The whole thing.
Him and Bane.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
What is your favorite, not outside of the villains, what would be your favorite comic book characters of all time?
I I really loved Spawn when I was a kid.
Yeah, we were talking about that, Steve.
Fucking love that TV show and the movie. That was
The movie's fantastic.
It was phenomenal. Michael Jai White.
The worst, best movie ever.
Oh God, fucking John Leguizamo.
Leguizamo as the
Martin
clown.
Sheen for no fucking reason. Like what? Like
Yo, the 90s was
great
tough
fucking
for
movie.
Sheen, man.
That was the best, worst movie I ever seen.
By the way,
Oh, yeah.
I love the soundtrack. The
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it comes from that great
mid to late
late
90s.
90s, mid 90s
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
just like extreme metal and like chains and skulls
Yep.
and fire, like in everything. Like Mortal Kombat soundtrack.
Yes.
Yes.
Fucking Mortal Kombat.
The Attitude Era was just starting in the WWE.
Yep.
Like,
I one of the things that I'm one of the things I'm truly excited is to see that the Spider-Man characters crossing over here and there. So Morbius, and what was the other one that's slated?
Let's see how that turns out.
Yeah, you know what? I like the
Venom and the
Yeah,
Venom
well-
movie. Yeah, I thought the Venom movie was great. I'm
I
looking forward to the second one with fucking
Woody
what's
Harrelson.
his face is Carnage. Woody Harrelson is
Yeah.
Carnage. It's gonna be great.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it will. Yeah, they definitely nailed it.
Is the Zombie Man
Plus Tom Hardy.
too?
I think so.
Oh yeah, so Woody Harrelson already knows how to work with that director.
That's right.
Yeah.
Zombieland 2 was fantastic. That movie
It was.
great.
So good.
Both of them
And
are
I was
awesome.
right being that good.
Yeah.
The scene with Bill Murray in the first one
Wow.
is
Fantastic.
hilarious.
The scene
Like,
with
when he
Bill
calls
Murray
him like,
at the
"Oh,
end
I'm
was
really sorry,
wonderful.
Mr. Murray's like."
Second one was
I
good.
think
When he did that right after the end of it. It was how it all started, and he just
Yeah.
kicking ass.
I think it's Bill now.
Yeah, it's
Call me Bill.
Yeah.
guys, following like the Infinity Saga, did you ever see any hiccups, anything that you think that will spin off the timeline a little bit? What do you think? You think we're gonna have
COVID.
some besides COVID? I know, but like, do you see anything like a real big twist? Because I read the comics, I read the Infinity Saga as a kid, and I kind of know where it would go. Do you think they'll follow that same storyline, or you think they're going to try to dip the audience a little bit and confuse them, but then bring it back? I mean, what do you think that?
I think they have a lot of work to do. The Marvel Kevin Feige and the Marvel executives. I think they're gonna.
They ended on such a huge note, and that I thought they ended
Yeah,
that first arc so well that it's gonna take some proving on their part to kind
They're
of.
probably gonna have to account for a couple duds.
Well, I think WandaVision is going to be the biggest part of the whole story. moving
Really?
forward. Yeah.
How
Without
so?
How so?
Yeah.
Because I think that the whole show, from what I gather from what I've seen of just the trailer and what I've heard, is just going to be about like her creating fake realities of like what she thinks her reality with Vision should be, and they show all the little like snippets of different TV shows and stuff. And she's in the sequel to Doctor Strange movie,
too, yeah.
which is in the multiverse of madness. So obviously there has to be something that she does that Doctor Strange is like, all right, well, you just completely screwed up,
fucked everything up.
entire multiverse of like, because they've already discussed like there is that like, because they did the time travel thing and they said like, you remove this one thing, it creates a whole new thing. So there has to be other things because like, how else are they going to introduce the X-Men? They have to come from like a different universe or
Is
something.
there a way that Kate Blanchett is not involved though?
No.
I mean, that would just be great.
No, I think, the whole end of Endgame with the returning of the Stones, they have to set that up in every single show or movie at the beginning in order to set up that reality timeline, and then they're gonna take all of that and tie it back in, and like have them all reconverge at one point.
Yeah, well, I know like certain things, like I know like Black Widow takes place after Civil War, I think.
And before Infinity, yep.
Before Infinity, and I think Shang-Chi takes place during the gap.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure
the blip.
That takes place between the 5-year gap. And Eternals, so like Eternals is gonna be like a thousands of year saga thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, I don't know, man. I at this point, Marvel could like, you know, film a piece of shit and like Spider-Man shows up and he's like, hey, and I'm like, whoa, dude.
Tom Holland, you're the best.
$120 million opening weekend.
Yeah, that's it. It's 2 hours of that, and then at the end, Spider-Man just like steps in it. He's like, oh.
Hey guys. Hey guys, I'm from Queens.
Look, a hot Aunt May.
Just roll her out in front of everybody.
Marissa Tomei.
Spider-Man. It was all about that piece of shit.
Which I would love. I would love for them to do a Spider-Verse real movie, bringing back Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, bringing in Miles Morales to then take the flame and move it forward. I think that would be a great...
You really want to bring back Andrew Garfield?
Yeah, bring him back. I was upset, honestly, I was upset that the third one wasn't done. Because I always anticipate 1, 2, 3.
I think you're alone.
Those movies were rough. I think you were the only person that was upset about that.
No, I didn't. Mind you, I didn't like them, but it did follow storylines that were relatively similar to comics. That, you know, obviously a lot of them, covered.
I think we all deserve Paul Giamatti as the Rhino.
Yeah, it was stolen from us.
I think we've earned that.
That's true too.
They only made it seem like he was in, the majority of the film.
Yeah. He only used his parts.
He got a sewer top in his head.
So let me ask you, Sean and John, do you guys drink beer?
This turned into like the fucking comic book podcast.
I mean, honestly, this is no different than the things that we talk about.
As we figured.
That's what we do over here. We take it off the rails. Some of us have some back information about beer, and other people have back information about comics.
I don't know. Mike was going hard with this.
Oh, dude, I can keep going, man. I'm such a conspiracy theorist with a lot of this shit that I watch way too many videos of these guys online talking about, like, you know, hints and things, and some of them actually become true, and some of them are like completely out there, like, but you don't know until the film comes out.
It's true. That's true.
Well, going back to the beer question.
Yes, we drink beer.
What was the third question again?
What is your go-to beer now, other than what you brew?
Oh, that's easy for me. That's gonna probably be either Muscat Haze or Parking Lot Pills by Hackensack Brewery.
Hackensack, yes.
Yeah, Hackensack, yeah, they're awesome, dude.
Those are my two favorite beers.
Dude, they're doing real deal shit, and I did the old Alchemy Hackensack walking tour, which is one block.
Elementary.
I'm sorry, Elementary, right?
Yeah.
What'd I say?
Alchemy.
Yeah, I didn't. That wasn't Alchemy at all. No.
Like full alchemist.
No, it wasn't even close to that shit.
Elementary,
correct.
Was it like 500 feet or something?
Yeah, it's an amazing. So we're sitting in Elementary, and we were at a wedding or whatever. My wife and I were hanging out with some friends, and they're like, "Yeah, let's go to Elementary." All right. Good time, great place. Bought a couple things to go, and they're like,
"Those guys very well too."
Dude, I was talking to, I think it was the head brewer. He was just coming out of the back, and I was like, "Oh, dude, cool stuff." I gave them stickers and everything. I was like, "This is awesome." Oh, cool, yeah. He said, "Did you go to Hackensack?" So I turned to my friends. I go, "Do you guys know the Hackensacks around the block?" They're like, "No," and they live like within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We walked, and within 10 minutes, not even, probably 5 minutes, we were in a beautiful place, great beer. I have pictures. I've been using pictures that we took that day of their brew house as the background of some of our flyers and stuff like that.
Nice.
Dude, what I appreciated is when I walked in, their freezer is just full of crowlers, not 16-ounce 4-packs. They spend like 2 hours before they open filling crowlers.
Yeah. Well, much like all of us now, they do a lot more cans.
Yeah. Oh, they've gone to 16 ounces?
Yeah. So they pivoted over as well, and they put a lot of their keg offerings into cans. They had the means to put it from a can or a keg into a can, and that's actually how we got started with 16 ounce as well. So also, huge thanks to Hackensack. When we were like, okay, let's try these 4-packs out. They stepped in and were like, hey, we can can some of the beer that you guys have in kegs already off for you, and hopefully that'll help you guys go through your beer a little bit faster.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it did, and I mean it was like a night and day difference. We were doing well, we were keeping the lights on, but the second that we started putting these beers into 16-ounce cans, they flew, and now yeah, now we're playing catch up, and even now we're playing catch up. I mean, tomorrow we have to go take care of a few beers, and then we're brewing another 2 or 3 times this week.
Jesus.
Yeah, in addition to bartending and
we do have deliveries. And
yeah. So they were huge. They're huge in helping us out with kind of starting up that program, that to go package program.
Yeah, get our foot in the door at least.
Yeah, I mean, we really weren't planning on it until about a year in. We were just we were going to kind of look into getting our own canning line or get some mobile canners out, and we just ultimately decided, let's just get it done now. It'll help build a brand. It'll get the word of mouth out there, and even on that end, we're seeing some positive results. We're getting our cans out to a lot of bars in the city, which they've been great. They've been stopping by almost every week and getting some cases to sell to people in New York, and get a lot of positive feedback, which is awesome. But yeah, I mean, we went from this like stage of uncertainty, this like weird kind of purgatory of not knowing where our business was going to end up, and now we're talking about doubling up our tank size and adding another tank in there, and
awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, we're very, very appreciative of all the people that helped us throughout it, and at the same time, we took the positive up from the negative and turned it around the best we could. And, we're just going to keep going from there, keep doing what we're doing, and kind of stick to our guns with our beer. Yeah. And, and just hopefully people kind of keep latching onto it and keep drinking and keep supporting us. Because, we definitely love doing what we do. It's sure we make ends meet by doing it, but we also love going in every day and being brewers. And the whole owner thing is still very new to us. Half the time I kind of forget that the people I'm talking to are my employees, and and it's kind of a trip. It's a cool feeling. It's a weird feeling being an owner, but because we're brewers at heart, we always will be, and I can't be more grateful right now to be in the position we're in, especially with everything going on. So we're trying to come out of it stronger and continue being nerds and being weird and throwing hops into every fucking style. Listen, Pete, we're gonna make a dry hopped double for you, okay?
Please do.
He's making that one by himself.
I'll brew it live. Listen, you can come in and brew with me.
Oh, there you go. There's an invite.
Well, there's an invite. I'll abscond for my family for a day.
Pete loves the shovel, so you can have him pull grain out.
There you go.
Give him the rake. Call it the
He's
Pete
the
rake.
spent grain dude.
Yeah, man.
Do you have a forklift to put in the dumpster in the back?
But
no,
crash it.
Forklift right now. Yeah. he brings the guns out for that.
There you go.
I have the body of a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
You're good. Just strong
Oh
everywhere
man,
else.
if this was the '80s, Strong would be heavyweight champ right now. Easily.
He can make his own Rocky montage of just grain moving,
Exactly.
That'd be great.
like Ivan.
Yeah, pulling a cart with me on it, just sitting back, drinking a beer.
But yeah, I mean,
Up the hills of Nyack.
Speaking to what John was saying about, it is surreal being in the position we're in, because we were still very much like fans of craft beer and fans of the beer scene. We still are. Yeah. One of our buddies works for Other Half, bring us like fresh drops on Other Half, and it's like Christmas every time it happens. We're like, all right, yeah. We have a friend that works at Equilibrium. It's like, all right, yeah.
And I mean, the guys at July Barrel down in Charlotte, they sent us a nice care package. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. We love what we do, and we also love still being, big craft beer nerds. And
yeah, I mean, when my brewery was open, everybody asked me, "Hey, what's your favorite beer?" I'm like, "Not mine."
Yeah,
I love drinking everybody else's beer, man.
Yeah. I drink mine all the time. It's great.
Yeah, I could drink my own whatever I want, but
that's like the same
somebody
question.
else's.
That's like the same question when they come to your place and they're like, "Oh, what's good?" I'm like, "I don't know, all of them."
Yeah.
Like,
number 1 through 6 are shit, but 7 and 8 are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't drink that one. It sucks.
The shitty one. Hey, that's the one Sean made. That one sucks.
You don't want to touch that one.
We'll give him the Kevin Feige rule, where you're gonna make one bad one, and we're just gonna take the hit.
Hey, listen, there's been batches that, we're only 6 months older, and there's been batches that we're like, shit.
Yeah.
We don't hate it, and people didn't necessarily hate certain things, but like
we see what we could have made better.
Yeah, I mean, we're perfectionists, so like, even now, we could be getting rave reviews on a beer, and I'll be like, you know what? But if it just had a little bit more of this or that or whatever, and like every single batch is an experiment. Every single
passion. That's just pure passion of what you're doing.
Yeah,
you want to do better than what you did the last time.
Exactly. We keep trying to outdo ourselves, and that's kind of the fire that drove us through this lockdown was the passion for creativity and to push ourselves to keep being better. Everybody always has this. There's always a stigma on a young brewery that it takes them that 6 months to 2 years to really find their groove and to kind of get in that wheelhouse, that comfort zone, that level of just like, all right, everything is hitting every number we need. We're hitting our starting gravities, we're hitting our finishing gravities, we're pulling the perfect amount of oils from our dry hops, and I think that pursuit is what keeps it fresh for us every day, and it's kind of like why we keep going to work and lacing up the boots, so to speak, and we're gonna keep experimenting.
Don't wear boots with laces.
Yeah, never. Yeah, no,
don't wear boots with laces while brewing.
Terrible.
Who needs that?
Yeah, you need a slide off boot just in case.
Yeah. Good kickoff whenever.
Yeah,
and we're trying to like kind of turn that stigma on its head and be like, hey, we came from a place where we kind of built a name for ourselves, and even though we're starting back from zero, kind of start from back from scratch, so to speak, we're trying to be like, hey, we know what we're doing, we know what we like, we're not shy, and we're not afraid to do a batch and have it completely suck, because we kind of went out on a limb and tried maybe a new technique or a new style,
pushing the limits of what we can do, or what our system can handle.
And that goes down to anywhere from the brew side, the hot side, to the cold side, and I mean, we had a couple IPAs that we dry hopped so heavily that we were like, Jesus Christ, this is like
that's a little too many hops.
Yeah, with blended grass wheat. It was just,
but then, the next
and there's nothing better when you try to empty, when you try to get that shroob out of the bottom of the fermenter and nothing moves. It's solid.
Yeah, it's concrete. It just, you're putting like 30 psi in the tank to try to nudge it out.
Nothing's moving.
Nope.
Yeah, it's the worst. That's why you just take off the entire bottom and just let it.
Cut it off. Just done.
Which we have done as young brewers at Bricks. We've definitely pulled
you have hoses and squeegees.
Yeah.
Get a big pole and just
exactly. Just
shove it in. So you guys already alluded to having potentially going to upgrade the brew house. What else does the future of Two Villains hold? What else are you looking at as bigger projects for the future?
I mean,
which one?
Yeah, we have a lot of small kind of passion projects that kind of tie into what we're doing now. One of the original things we wanted was a brew pub, and we nailed that. We wanted that cool, comfortable like vibe, and that just nice, simple setting where you can have a beer and eat some food, and both are good and they go hand in hand. And another one of our big goals was to have a farmhouse location. We want a big piece of land up north, somewhere where we can have a nice big barrel program. That's one of my big loves even now. It's something that I absolutely adore doing at Brick City, was working with barrels. We had over, I believe, 50, 60 wine barrels. We had 10 enormous oak puncheons, and and we did a lot of bourbon barrel aging, and I loved working with them.
We did a ton of blended sour beers.
A lot of turban mash, a lot of
loving me some sours lately, man. Farmhouses, wild yeast.
I love it.
Even like double dry hop sour is phenomenal. Yeah, exactly. Great stuff coming out of like Hudson River Valley.
Yeah. You think about that, Pete, huh?
Yeah. Pete, I'm gonna get Pete into some of those sours, because they really aren't. They're sour, but they're dry.
Exactly, and
I haven't had one that I like yet.
But you know what? I always tell it.
Sour beer?
I always tell everybody, I'm like, listen, you're gonna find a sour that you like one day, and it'll hit kind of every.
The only thing I think it came close was North Fork's Back to Lacto. I don't remember what specific style it entered, but
I think if you had what is it, Peak Skills Simple Sour,
yeah,
it's good beer.
That's like a real like entry level, 3% alcohol, just nothing to tear your jowls out.
Yeah, exactly. And all right, I don't know
jowls to spare. It's okay.
I don't know how easy it is to access, but one of my all-time favorite beers, even now to this day, is Petit Prince by Jester King.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's a 2.5, 2.6, something like that percent table beer.
Wow.
Mixed fermentation. That is like, if I was to choose a beer for somebody to kind of get into sours with, it would be that. It's not very acidic. It's not too dry. There's not too much funk going on, but it's clean and it's so refreshing. It's so easy to drink. Great with food, and I think that's a beer that a lot of people can kind of like drink, wrap their heads around sours as a whole. Because it can be pretty jarring. Like one of our big things at Bricks with the barrels was doing sensory tastings every month or two.
Yep.
And trying some of these things, you're like, Jesus Christ, like we have to blend this. This is fucking battery acid, and then there's some that you're like, well, there's zero, acidity to this. The pH probably didn't really drop that much, and we definitely have to make it a little bit more tart. And it was nice because we could kind of adjust it to, kind of the perfect balance to be approachable by everyone. So I always think there is a sour out there for everyone, even if they're not into it.
It's much like IPAs,
Exactly.
People that never liked IPAs. It's like, just drink every IPA until you find the one you like.
It's an acquired taste. And so that kind of love for wild beer brings us to wanting that second location, that farmhouse location. And, we want a nicer, like, dining experience to kind of go with it. Again, going back to our roots in the restaurant industry, my father was a chef growing up, so I kind of grew up in a restaurant. And I just love the idea of a really good food and drink experience. And me as a consumer,
we've always been about the full experience. Like even going to places, like that's the thing we look for. Like,
Yeah,
going to a brewery, do they have food? Is it more than just like pretzels? Is it like can I get a nice sandwich? Can I get
Yeah, it's best of both worlds. I'm not shy to drop a lot of money on a great meal and you're drinking awesome bottles of wine or beer or whatever it is, and having a nice
probably where the majority of my money goes to.
Yeah, exactly. At this point,
it's about the experience and longevity. It'd be nice to be able to go into a restaurant, not only enjoy the food, but then sit after and enjoy a couple of home brewed or craft brewed or in-house brewed beers, and just try the whole palette and go right through the list. That's
like the thing too.
Jumping from one to another.
Exactly.
I think that's what that's the cool thing about our place is that you see it, like it's right there. Like you're sitting next to the tanks. You can look over and see the buckets of water bubbling from fermentation and stuff. Like,
give me the long look and I can spray you.
Yeah.
From the brew deck. It's right there. It's palpable to the people in there, and it's huge for us. And I love it. I love being able to kind of provide that little bit of like authenticity to people coming in, just seeing us work and whatever else. And we want to expand upon that. We like giving back to the communities that we're in currently, and we're going to continue to kind of bridge the gap between beer and food as much as we can.
We want to try to bring the craft beer scene to Naya as much as we can.
Exactly.
In terms of just like even eventually trying to let the town let us do like certain things.
Sure. It's kind of like we're the first guys to kind of roll up in town with a brewery, and it's like we almost we don't want to let people down by having a subpar product, being the first place.
You don't want to fuck it up for everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah. We're trying not to be those guys, that they had one job and they couldn't do it.
Or like, somebody comes in and they do it better than us. And it's like, oh shit, what
What the fuck were we doing those?
Exactly.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on. It's been an awesome experience, both being at your brewery, having your beer, and talking to you. One of the
next time, Mike, when we meet each other in person, we can actually just talk about comic books and movies for
yeah. over some paper canoes. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
IPA, whatever. Triple IPA, so it gets nice and heated.
Fair enough. I want to thank everybody for joining us in on the Instagram Live, and then even most recently over here on Facebook. Appreciate Joshua Saffer and
that's my boy.
Yep, the Real Drunk Housewives of Australia checking in, so we are global. Graz came in and said hello. Free Graz, by the way. And then free
Did
Greg.
he mutter any obscenities?
No, actually, he's been very tame. But Greg DiFilippo says free Greg.
That's a lot of stuff for you guys, though.
Yeah. David Crumhole says that Sean's a beast and Vivid Laser Eye God is perfection, which I do agree. It was a fantastic beer. Out of the 4 we had, and none of them were terrible, thank God. That Laser Eye God was probably my favorite out of them. So keep producing that one because that one was fantastic.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
But he did make also another comment that you guys really come off normal on a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I did
It's
see that.
unusual for us.
We know how to be professional. We've been in the restaurant industry for like 20 years.
I'm surprised you guys aren't smoking cigarettes in the background because that's all I did as a bartender waiter for 20 years. It's the only reason you have the excuse to go out back.
I'm like a double-fisted joint and a cigarette.
Well, fair enough. Guys, why don't you give us the big plug about the brewery and give us all the contact information where people can find you, where people can pick up your beer.
Yeah, all right. So, yeah, we're Two Villains Brewing. We're out of Nyack, New York in the lower Hudson Valley. You can visit us right on Main Street, 132 Main Street. We're open Tuesday through Sunday. Thursday through Sunday, we are serving food outdoors and soon to be indoors.
Ooh.
We offer to-go crowlers, to-go 4-packs. We also have a full bar. You can contact us or follow us on Instagram or on Facebook, Two Villains Brewing. We also have a website, twovillainsbeer.com. So we try to keep an updated draft list and food list and everything else on there as well. Beermenus.com. You can find our updated draft list as well. Pretty much it, yeah.
Awesome.
Come drink our beer. It's not that bad.
No. It's cheeky bastards. They're not that
Yeah, and Nyack is weird and awesome.
Nyack. It's weird. It's a weird and great place.
It is. It's a really cool small town to go visit. It's got great views, and you're gonna probably see a ton of bikers, and that's not something you probably commonly see every day in a town, just taking over the entire town.
And feel free to open your car doors as they pass by. We won't judge you. Just kidding. All the cyclists out there, they do give us good business. So I'm not trying to isolate it. Keep on riding in, guys. We're still here for you.
It's like a scene from This Is 40. It just hits the car and flies over. What the fuck? What the hell was that? Guys, I really appreciate you coming down and being on and doing your thing. We're definitely going to hang out again. This is way too fun.
Please do.
This is where Mike and Pete and Steve and GovsRadio.com.
Do this to me every time.
Well, listen, again, 2.5 years, Steve, of just me and Pete. And Steve is now an integral part. He's the third leg of the tripod, as we said. And he does have his own name on the thing. So this is where Mike, Pete, and Steve. It's hard to say without the and in between each one. GovsRadio.com. Again, check us out on iTunes and on Spotify and all of the platforms. For your tomorrow, it should be out somewhere around 12, 1 o'clock, depending on how early I wake up.
Depending on how Mike
wakes up. On loop at the brewery.
Yeah, there you go. That'll be fun. If I can, I'll put some.
My voice sounds like.
Yeah. Well, it's through Zoom, so it's a little tough. It's tough through Zoom to really get the full feeling.
It's so hard to listen to my own voice, so I just don't.
That's why
the lighting in here is low because I am just super sweaty. It is
you're drinking those triples the entire time.
Cut down on
just melting.
My makeup's gonna start wearing off soon.
Pete, any last words before we get out of here?
Don't forget to have your new pet spayed and neutered, Mike.
Yeah, I got him. I got her spayed, and she's still acting like an asshole. Steve, what do you got?
Say no to coprophagy.
Love it. I don't know what that
Whatever
is.
that is, fuck
Everyone
it.
Google search that shit.
You will know what it is.
All right. So we're Mike and Pete, GovsRadio, and Steve, GovsRadio.com. We out.
Later, guys.
Take it easy.
Beer for 3 hours.
That's all right.